So while we can't have Kit here today, we do have Rome. So I want Rome to come on and do his introduction.
Hello, how y'all doing? I'm Rome from Revolutionary Blackout Network. Uh, thank you. Thank you. I'm sure a lot of y'all have heard and seen a lot of what we have done and do. Uh, the main thing about Revolutionary Blackout is that we weren't somebody who was talking about activism on the internet. We was activists who got a hold of the internet, who got a hold of a network and used that to push our agendas, whether that be socialism, communism, whatever it may be. We have been here fighting for years and it have been hell. You go through your ups and downs, but in the end, it all worked out. And I'm glad to use my platform to push more voters to the Green Party because there is no other party that I can see in America right now or even worldwide that actually echoes, our messages of RBN. And the solidarity have been great. Solidarity have been great. I believe we can do more. I believe we are showing them what they are showing us. We are smarter than what they are telling us. And I take a lot of pointers from Bree. I take a lot of pointers from Sabby, especially Nick. Nick is a dog. Man. But it is beautiful. It is beautiful. Thank you guys.
Hi, I'm Briahna Gray. I host a podcast called Bad Faith. Before I introduce myself, I do really want to second how great RBN is and really validate that the independent media system can be extremely cliquish and very insular, and your sort of status and how much face time you get and how much people are aware of you is largely dependent on who is willing to bring you in. And I was very lucky to be brought in by the late, great Michael Brooks when he was on Majority Report. He did a lot to bring in new voices to the left and much more diverse voices to the left. And I think that the left, for many reasons, misses his presence, but that's a key one. And so with the limited platform that I have, I've been very happy to get to know you guys at RBN and so thrilled to see the growth of RBN over the years. And Sabby Sabs, who you just mentioned, has really been holding it down and has been such an incredible voice. Does such a works so hard, does incredible streams, is so on top of everything. And if you're not already subscribing to their channel and following their content, I really think you should. And I also do want to laud you for doing the direct action work you do as well, and pointing out that the media is on the pedestal, the foundation of having done that work. And you can really tell through your commentary that that's the case. Then there's me. I've been doing Bad Faith for almost 6 years now. Somehow, I don't know how the time has passed. Before that, I worked as the national press secretary for the Bernie Sanders campaign and did a podcast for the Bernie campaign as well. And so it's been a lot of years of podcasting and a relatively new medium, I guess you could say. I feel like a veteran in some respects and have seen many different sides of it. And I have a lot of thoughts and feelings that I'm sure we'll get into about the contemporary state of left media. But I'll just say this, my observation over the years so far is that it used to be very, very impactful to getting a lot of the sort of DSA style candidates that are enjoying their platforms and success to where they are today. It is maybe getting lost to history that when nobody really cared or was watching or paying attention to AOC, it was Glenn Greenwald having her on at The Intercept that was a big first, and Jimmy Dore as well, big first interviews for her, and helped to generate excitement among the left for her as a campaign. I think the consolidation around Bernie in 2020 and 2016 also happened with the left media infrastructure, and the left media infrastructure grew with the Bernie movement. The consequence of that, however, is that as many of us have sort of grown beyond the Bernie movement, there has become a sort of bifurcation within the left media infrastructure where a lot of, frankly, the larger channels that have more influence are seemingly, from my perspective, more invested in sort of championing what they perceive as wins electorally among DSA candidates instead of doing what I believe their job is as journalists and media critics is, which is to offer commentary, pushback, critique, and not just sort of fluffery. And so I think one of the challenges that independent media has is how to still benefit from the infrastructure that had the capacity to do a lot to boost the left movements of yesteryear, and negotiating these tensions between people who feel perhaps a more of a solidarity or sort of a team commitment to more establishment left politics versus those who have been willing to be more critical.
Yeah. What's poppin', my friends? For one, I have to say that my brother, Rome, is extremely humble. Rome inspired me a lot, man. What he's building in Detroit with the Care Party, what he's doing for his community by building a library, building benches for them. That's what we need to do as we build our party. We need to show up for the working class and let them know that we are there for them. Because now this is like the perfect ideal situation for us to be in. You guys, you realize that Congress has only a 10% approval rating? Well, 86% of Americans are extremely dissatisfied with Congress. We have this amazing revolutionary opportunity to build a true movement. And what we're here for at RBN, we're here to remind you guys, and it's very important for you to remember, that we are not the crazy ones. People call us radical, but we are not the radical ones. The people who are radical are the ones who believe the IDF can shoot a child in the head with a sniper round. The people who make excuses for the mass murdering and torturing of children, doctors, journalists. They are the ones who are crazy, and we are in this unique opportunity to build something. And at RBN, we are trying to blow past the gatekeeper class. You guys know who I'm talking about. Their number one job is to tell you, despite the massive.
I think this is recycling.
Yeah.
Where does it?
So do
Man, I was just getting my groove too.
that.
As I was saying, despite the massive unpopularity of Congress, 86% of Americans who oppose Congress, you have a record amount of Americans who are ready to build a third party. There is a gatekeeper class who exists who tell you that now is not the time. The time wasn't during the financial crash in 2008. That wasn't the time. The time wasn't at the start of the Trump administration, the first Trump term, the rise of COVID, the genocide in Gaza. Now is never the time. At RBN, me and Ron, we looked people in the face and we said, now is the time. Woo.
So my name is Scott Free, and I am here with Green Live Stream, which I've been on for maybe a year and a half. Edie Arndell asked me to join. And first I got to say is like, I'm extremely honored to be here with like my heroes. I'm gonna cry a lot in this episode. I mean, seriously, Rome and Briahna and Nick. Oh my God. So I think really we kind of base our show a lot on the content from the three of these folks here, and we'll play clips from all of you. And so I think the point of Green Live Stream, and yes, we come out of Illinois, but I think the point that we wanted to do was to have a media presence within the Green Party. And this was much due to Kalia Fitzgerald also kind of pushing us to think in that concept. And so we want the Green Party to have a place to go to find out what's going on. And so what we do is we have two purposes. On Wednesday nights, we interview candidates, and we interview people who are very active in the Green Party across all 50 states. And the other thing that we do is we present on Sundays the news of the week, which is, again, a lot of clips and just, talking about the issues at hand for that particular week, which we find is a nightmare every week. And so I just feel like it's really important for the Green Party itself to have media. And I am hoping that what we want to do is really get this concept across to the Green Party that we are a huge number of people who could ourselves be promoting the Green Party. And so I have a little list. I mean, I could just start naming. So we have so many incredible candidates in the Green Party, and these people they are stepping out there and they're doing the work. I couldn't do this, but they are really, really doing the hard work of becoming a candidate and trying to push the Green Party to become the party of the United States. And I'm just going to name some names: Sheila Fazey, Pete Karras, Jordan Conley, Paige Rearing, Michael Dublin, Justin Phillip, Victor Martinez, Andy Ellis, Marlon Duran, Greg Stoker, Espoir and Gabo, Edie Arndell, Griselda Romero, Gary Swing. I could go on and on and on. But my point is, I have all of those names. Everybody should know those names. And I could list 50 to 75 more. Everyone should know those names. And in fact, if you are on social media, you should be going to their campaigns, liking, sharing, and commenting, because we have a huge media force here, right? We have a huge media force. We just have to activate it. I mean, there's nothing that gets me like my head wants to explode when I go to a candidate's social media post and there's 2 likes. I just want to like, so, but we could change that. And so I think that's part of what Green Live Stream is about. We want to promote from within to really, we got to legitimize our own candidates because they're just as good as those other people in those 2 other genocide parties. So that's my spiel for right now.
Okay, so I'm of 2 minds about this. I have a couple of questions to prompt discussion up here, but I also know that there have been a couple of panels where questioning has gotten cut off prematurely, and I am inclined to over-index on question time rather than conversation time. I'm seeing some air snaps. Okay, so I will prompt us. Oh, we also have JT. Oh, I'm so sorry. So sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
You didn't cut me off at all, Briahna. I got here late. So hi everyone. My name is JT Cestkowski. I'm a reporter with Status Coup News. I was supposed to be there in person with all of you, but unfortunately I could not be there because I am here at in Madison, Wisconsin, at the scene of where Corey Ruiz was shot and killed. Our whole thing about at Status Coup is that we do on the ground reporting, sustained on the ground reporting, where we lift up the voices of usually working class people, the voices that tend to go ignored by mainstream media coverage. Our tagline is we cover the stories that corporate media covers up. And so this is why I am out here instead of there with you, is I am out here covering one of these stories. I actually live here in the Madison area. And so I am, but now I'm like basically living out here at the memorial where Corey Ruiz was shot and killed, just here behind me. So in terms of like big thoughts about media, I gotta echo, I would probably just echo what everybody has said on the panel so far. And then, I'll see what Briahna has in store for us in terms of questions and the like. But at least my initial takeaways are always to kind of just build off of what was just said, is that I think everybody needs to be a media department unto themselves these days. You cannot wait or hope or try to court individual media coverage. If you do that, you will just wait forever and you will never get your message out there.
Thank you, JT, and thank you to Status Coup. I also just want to double down on how important their reporting is. I mean, what you said, JT, about how everyone sort of feels the need to or should be their own media enterprise, I think that is correct. That is also such a challenge because, as I'm sure you know, the expense of that undertaking, having the same reach as some of these more funded institutions, the fact that you at Status Quo are able to keep up in the way that you do and make news the way you do is really exemplary. And I think it's an important question how the left, given its limited resources, can start to do some of the same things. I mean, I'm asked all the time, why aren't you breaking points? And I'm like, I don't have breaking points money. Like it requires, I mean, as a studio, a set, all of these kinds of, you have to hire people to do lighting and sound and camera work. And it really takes a village to put a show like that or Rising on. And so I do think that it is necessary. I'm sometimes asked, why don't we combine our resources in certain kinds of ways to try to get something like that off the ground. And I've been thinking a lot recently because of how viral some of the clips of AOC and others on the Hill have gone in the last week or so, as they're questioned in this man on the street style by the Pablo Torre podcast has been doing a bunch of those. TMZ is now in the political media game, making a lot of news. And I'm like, do I have to just go down there sweaty to the nation's capital with a microphone and stick a camera in our face because these people are not coming on our shows anymore? I mean, I'll speak for myself. You know, there once was a time where Ro Khanna was regularly reaching out, wanting to come on. And now my request for him to come on go unanswered. And I think as we're getting closer to 2028 and people are getting into I want to be president zone, they're not playing as fast and loose with left media and the reputation that he has for being willing to go anywhere. I think he's hoping that will carry him across the line, even if he is increasingly reluctant to go certain kinds of places. So I want to open up to you guys if you have thoughts about how to overcome some of those kinds of media obstacles. Is it to do like sort of gumshoe reporting down to the nation's capital and stick a camera in somebody's face and try to get the same results that TMZ et al. Are getting? Do you have other thoughts about what you would like to see other people in our shared collective space doing? What do you think?
Yeah. I call myself a citizen journalist. That's in my bio. And that's what we are at RBN. We are citizens who inform our neighbors and our brothers and sisters about what's. Okay. I got to make low the mic a little bit. I'm a citizen journalist. I think we need more citizen journalists out there. For a very long time, it was smart. But the ruling class, they was gatekeepers on what it means to be an actual journalist. And you've seen the consequences of them attacking who is a journalist, what is not journalism. We've seen what they did to Julian Assange. It's very important for them to gatekeep that. But anyone who has a platform, anyone who has the ability to inform, you're a journalist in yourself. And we need that mass movement of journalist activity within the Green Party to help prop each other up, prop our neighbors up. That's why we started RBN. Like, people always ask me why I started RBN, because I wasn't getting platformed. And then the second I got RBN, then people started platforming me. You got to build your own backyard, your own movement, and then we come in coalitions with each other. That's why I reach out to anyone who is working outside of duopoly, anyone who's anti-capitalist, anyone who's anti-imperialist, anyone who's actually want to make a change. And we have the platform, we have the technology, we have the resources to do this. And it's actually very intellectually enriching, the conversations that I have. I meet people from all around the world. And that go back to what I mentioned to you guys before, how having these conversations, I spoke to a few of you guys, and then we mentioned how it's kind of therapy. It's therapy for me, it's therapy for you guys. And just being able to meet and have these conversations with other people, I cannot stress enough, is very intellectually enriching to do that. So I implore as many people do as possible. You don't have to be like a giant YouTuber. You don't have to be like a big Instagram star, but building your own community and make sure that your community is informed, that we all have a mission statement, and we want to accomplish that mission statement, and also coming together to just, to be honest, provide working class propaganda, anti-imperialist propaganda, because they are consistently feeding the American people, feeding people in Europe false nonsense propaganda. And when I see the American people, like, just for example, turn against the state of Israel, that's another great opportunity for us as well, because we're not crazy. They're not crazy. They're seeing the mass murdering of children. They're seeing Israel completely disregard international law. That's why it's upon us to come together and say, I'm way more than just free Palestine. I don't know about you guys. I'm justice for Palestine. I'm revenge for Palestine. One last thing before I pass to the rest of the panel, because it's important to remember that war crimes, there's no statute of limitations for war crimes. And there's over 20,000. Hey. Alice, I'll jump to that. Yeah. I'm about to start rapping. One thing we have to remember, and I'm not letting them forget this. You guys realize that there's over 20,000 Americans who are currently fighting for the IDF and helping them commit genocide in Lebanon and Gaza. So you want to know? Yep, 20,000 in the United States, 10,000 in the UK, around 5,000 in France. It's a European Western colony. It is a fake country. And you want to know what I'm going to do for the rest of my life? I'm pretty damn young. I'm going to spend the rest of my life holding these people accountable. And we're going to do that through media.
I just want to say, years back when I first started putting my activism online, I had less than 300 followers on Twitter and probably like my family on Facebook. So no matter how, don't never feel like you don't have power, like you don't have influence. If it's in your heart, if it's in your mind, imagine that in millions of other people. And there's people out there who think like you every day. They want a change, but you have to show them examples. If you want this to happen, you got to show them that it's possible, because all we hear from, even the DSA left, the NATO left, you hear from, the liberal media to the conservatives, that we can't do anything to change this. We're too late, or we can't have a third party. If you want change, you got to get up. And if you're disabled, talk your shit. Because people are listening. People are listening, and they will pay attention, and they will lead by example. Now that I have gained the influence to, and all of this power to do all of these things throughout this country. I travel the country, I feed people, I'm building things, and I'm helping people. It's only because I was able to, to talk my shit the way I did freely. And people like, I'm not as, as sharp as everybody else. I might not go on so many podcasts and do all these interviews and whatnot, but what I do is it comes from my heart. If I'm doing something from you, it comes from the heart. And one thing I was working on is some propaganda for the Green Party. And if you have a chapter out there, I will build a bench for your chapter. You can put it in front of your buildings, you can put it out there, but that's one thing that we are missing is on-ground propaganda. Because one thing I have noticed, like when I build my benches, I'm going to make sure that I'm pushing my agenda. I'm going to make sure that the people who's going to benefit from this know it came from me. Because if I was just to put a bench out there or anything and it's just nameless and it's just there, they're gonna think the city did this. They're gonna be thinking the city, and you're gonna have people voting for the city council and all this crap. No, it didn't come from them. It came from us. It came from us because it's for us. So it's by us, and that's the message that we should have. So, and I mess with the Green Party because, red and blue just make you purple in the face. And that's why you should just vote green. Because I'm tired of holding my breath for a Kamala Harris. I don't want to hold my breath and vote for a Joe Biden. And now I got so much blood on my hands, I can't even hold my kids. It's really messed up. But you guys, you got it. You are the strongest party in this world. And I don't mean, physically. Look at all the things that they have put you through. Y'all have been kicked off of ballots. Y'all have been threatened. Y'all have been jailed. And you still fight to this day. And you have to show the people who is fighting, because it isn't the Democrats, it isn't the Republicans. They are actively fighting against you guys. And once they know who's leading the charge, they will get behind you. But for right now, people are propagandized to follow the leader and not be the leader of their own.
So I want to answer this question in terms of a little bit focusing on two folks, Kalia Fitzgerald and Zeke Smith, who are they're really pushing this idea of green media. It was Kalia who said, we need to have green media every day, different. And so, one thing we're doing at Green Livestream is adding to our co-hosts. And so I'm just going to name who our new co-hosts are. Jason Sadabras, Alexandria Keating-Sofiakis, Griselda Romero. We also have producer Hazel Hammond. But I'm bringing that up to just say we want to expand the voices, and we want, especially Kalia and Zeke, want other people to create their own platforms, and that we can tie them together. And because people are sick of this Scott and Edie show, right? And so we really want to expand it. And we want, because it's really important that we become our own media empire, right? And yeah, thank you. And then the other thing that I wanted to work, I was working with Jordan Connolly a little bit from Hawaii. He's running for Congress in Hawaii, about really working on kind of taking from Nick again, hotspot videos, just yeah, hotspot, I'm sorry, in the lab cooking. Just, you know, this style that's kind of in your face and short videos. But I want the Green Party folks to be doing these. And so that's another project that we're going to be working on. I'm working with Jordan Conley. But just the idea that, yes, we can't do this stuff ourselves, and you will not be alone, because if you do a podcast, we've got places here to create, you know, the environment and to be able to share these things around. So thank you for that question, because that really got me going.
JT, I want to throw it to you. Also, not to over direct your answer, but I am curious. I'm sitting here realizing I don't know a ton about Status Coup's origin story. And as someone who is interested in doing more of that sort of direct reporting content, I am curious if you could tell us a little bit about at least what you know of how it got started and what are the logistical hurdles and benefits of taking that approach to left media.
Yeah, so Status Coup was the brainchild of my boss, Jordan Sheridan. After he left the Young Turks, he started his own outlet, Status Coup News, which was meant to be a coup against the status quo, hence the name. And he just made his whole thing about going on the ground in various places around the country. Most famous for him was probably Flint, Michigan, where he reported on the water crisis in Flint now a decade after a lot of corporate media had given up on it or had stopped caring about it, and really just built the brand out of that with just himself, a cameraman, and an editor. And honestly, he did that back in 2018. Today, I don't even think you necessarily need the cameraman and the editor anymore. So to kind of get to what you were alluding to at the setup of this question here, Briahna, where you were talking about the breaking points of the world that have the fancy studios and the lighting setups, I'll just let you in a little bit of behind the scenes on how we're operating here at Status Coup. Right now, we are doing everything in our power to try and tone down the produced elements of the reports that we do, because we are finding actually that our content goes a lot farther, reaches a lot more people when it is less produced, when it is something more like this, where I'm just talking on a cell phone set up on a rinky-dink little tripod here. This kind of raw footage on the ground stuff is going a lot further and having a lot more purchase with people, because they see it as a lot more authentic than that overly produced stuff. So you don't need, in fact, I would tell you explicitly not to go and invest in, thousands of dollars worth of camera, lighting equipment, set up a whole studio. I would tell you, do not do that, because you're only going to be hurting your own reaches within these algorithms. What we're finding here is that people want that raw, unfiltered kind of look at how things are going on. And that is something that, at least for now, these few social media algorithms that are owned by just a handful of billionaires are still rewarding. So that is for people who do want to, build their own media presence or try and have more of a reach. That is what I would tell you to do, is to explicitly lean into the low budget approach, and it'll actually allow you a lot more purchase. So Briahna, if you are looking at doing more on the ground reporting, like what we are doing, first of all, please do. We would love to have more competition out here and more people lifting up the voices of these stories, because there are so many times where I look around, like right now, for instance, and I'm the only journalist out here. Corey Ruiz was shot and killed out here on Wednesday, and now the media is already gone, and it's just us here. So I would absolutely love to see more people out doing this kind of work. And the advice that I would give is to go the low tech approach, because I was out at a march just a couple of nights ago where a TV reporter who was dressed exactly like the stuffy kind of TV reporter you would. He was wearing a full suit, and he had a cameraman with him who had the $20,000 camera slung over the shoulder, and they had the microphone in the hand with their fancy little mic flag on it, and they were trying to get up to get some sound on where the family of Corey Ruiz was speaking, and the crowd absolutely rejected them, saw them as this corporate media, stand-in for corporate media more broadly. I don't know the reporter individually to be able to say like if he was a good reporter or a bad reporter. I just don't know. But he was rejected just because of what he stylistically represented to the people in that crowd, which was, a media outlet that was going to be a mouthpiece for the police and their narrative that they wanted to spin around this particular story. And that goes for just about any story that we cover, that, there's always that corporate side or that authority side of things that are usually overrepresented in the mainstream press. Whereas myself and a couple of other independent journalists that I was working with were actually getting, we didn't get the same rejection from the crowd. In fact, we got interviews, we got all of the sound bites and everything collected and out to our audiences because the crowd welcomed us. They saw us as more authentic and willing to tell the actual truth of what was happening there on the ground. So that's the kind of authenticity that I think really needs to be leaned into by more people and would actually really make people understand how easy, quote unquote, it's hard work, don't get me wrong, but how much easier it is than you might assume that this work. And then just because I was seeing comments of concern in the chat, the smoke behind me is from grills. Nothing is on fire. There are people out here providing mutual aid and food to people. So that's why there's smoke in the background.
Go ahead.
I'm done.
To you, Rome. I will admit to being of two minds about this. I have to confess. The point that you make about seeming approachable in the man in the street context, I take it in full. I personally feel torn because I feel like the place that I've occupied in this media space is to try to put some sort of imprimatur of authority and legitimacy on views that are seen as radical and illegitimate. And to that end, presenting a certain way, like having a certain sort of background, I've been trying to deploy to the benefit of the left. And so I do feel pressure to, also I'm just too old for TikTok, but like I do feel pressure to get a certain kind of setup and like also to try to get back into traditional media when the opportunity presents itself, which is usually only in the context of like a Piers Morgan interview. That's the only, legitimate, but at least you get these clips where it looks professional and you can send it to somebody's mom who reads The Atlantic and watches CNN and be like, this is a legitimate source, this is a legitimate person, this is a legitimate podcast that maybe you should tune into. And I think that, many people play many different roles in this space. But I do, I just wanted to throw out there that, I would, there's a part of me that wants to curl up in a sofa and do like, what's her name? That blonde woman who does those, like, just talks to Michelle Obama about her dating history and whatever. Like, what's her name? Call her daddy. Yeah. There's a part of me that just wants to go full call her daddy. But then there's a part of me that's like, no, I have a responsibility to just be one of the, have this kind of a resume in this space and to try to use it for good. What?
I believe there is a balance. There is a balance because some people only see, they are programmed by MSNBC, CNN, and the bright lights and the good makeup. So, it's there is a balance, and I would like to say, I'm gonna keep this quick because I know some people don't like when we talk about forced to vote. But when yeah, I know I'm talking shit. But when Briahna led a march, I was inspired. I was truly inspired by her voicing and getting people out there. And people made fun of her. People made fun of her. The same people that made fun of her never in their life got people out there on the ground. So I didn't see what was funny about that situation at all. She's out there marching for your rights, trying to get these politicians held accountable. And we had a conversation about that. She was like, I don't really feel like I'm an activist. I said, shit, you got more people out there than me. And so, what I'm saying about that is you're going to start small. Even if we are in one of the largest organizations, it is hard to get people out there on the ground from experience. People have different schedules, people have different disabilities and abilities, and you have to have patience because it will take off. Look at Bree right now. She's one of the top voices. Nick is one of the top voices. Sabby is one of the top voices. We have so many strong voices over here on the left. It's because that we start strong, we start small, and we keep going. But don't lose your heart, don't lose your faith in this, don't lose your faith in your people. Because I'm telling you, even if they're not listening right now, they might be too busy working for those capitalist crap. No, I'm playing. No, I'm playing. They might be too busy working. So just give them a chance, stay patient, and you're gonna get it.
Yeah, it's super important for us to let our voice be heard because during Force to Vote, we put the progressives in a position where you choose to fight with us or you choose to assimilate yourself within the establishment. And the choice that they made was obvious. We're seeing it now with Zoran Mamdani blocking primary challengers into Hakeem Jeffries in a time where Hakeem Jeffries is helping fund a genocide. We endorsed him for speaker. So I don't know about you guys, but I'm ready to fight. I'm not. That's the difference. That is why many people was intimidated by RBN because we was demanding people to fight. No more tranquilizing drugs. I want to build something. I'm not into reformism. We are way beyond that. You move beyond reformism when your government start killing babies. That's just the reality. This system is not going to allow any reform. It's an inherently genocidal and racist system. The only way we can defeat that is by building our own movement, showing up to communities and actually improving their lives. The message that come from the establishment progressive media, which is why we had to start our own, was that you had to fight for small incremental change within the genocidal Democratic Party. And they've been doing that their entire lives. Bernie Sanders got gray hairs, 80 years old, haven't accomplished anything for the working class. Just been saying the same thing. There's these clips of him ragging about the duopoly and oligarchy for 30 years. No accomplishments for the working class. So I want to look at historical examples. That's what we do at RBN because it's very important for us to have an intellectual working class. I'm trying to educate people about history, about what has worked before. And what make reformists extremely frustrated is their inability to look across the border to see what worked elsewhere, especially in the United States. We have a country just to our south, Mexico. Do you guys know who Claudia Sheinbaum is? These people want to act like they're stupid, like we don't see Claudia Sheinbaum, who they left their neoliberal party and they built their own party, the Morena Party. And you know what the result of that was? They had increased minimum wage. She is now looking into expanded universal health care, and they had crime decreased by over 40% because of her policies. She's one of the most popular leaders in the world. And that's why Donald Trump is trying to do everything in the Israeli Isaac Accords. That's a conversation for another day. That's why they're trying to undermine her, because she's an example of what happened when you have people power movement, not reformism, not entryism. It's us building something for ourselves. Don't you guys want something to pass to your children? Don't you want stories to tell to the young ones about how you guys was the vanguard and you guys built a party that led to the prosperity of the American people? That's what I want. I don't want just free buses. I want more than that.
One of the things that we try to do at Green Live Stream, at least I try to push this concept a lot, is the normalization of genocide. The entire Mamdani campaign was about the normalization of genocide, because what they did was they found this really talented guy and they got him to stick a D by his name. And what that meant was now everybody can start to think, wow, this Democrat's great. Wow, he's so great. He's wonderful. He put a D by his name. He said, you know what? I'm kind of okay with that genocide because I'm going to work in the organization that committed it, right? 15 months. Yeah. 15 months of pure genocide. And he's like, I'm okay. And I'm trying to fight people who just talk about the Democratic primary like it's some cute contest. People, these are murderers. You know, in our laws, an accomplice to murder gets put in jail. I mean, how close can you be to murder to sign the bill that sends the bomb that gets dropped on the Palestinians? You can't get any closer. you know? And so what we are trying to do is to push that idea on Green Live Stream that we can't allow this stuff, stop the normalization of genocide. Stop saying, oh, well, this Democratic candidate says really nice things. Folks, I mean, I really criticize anyone in that party who did not resign. What are you doing there? You know, I mean, it's like, I'm a really nice person, but yeah, I'm working in the John Wayne Gacy party. I mean, it's like, what are you doing? I've said enough.
Never forget that Zohar Mamdani has said multiple times that his ambition is to save the Democratic Party.
Yep.
He's the best gift to the establishment has ever seen.
I saw at least one hand. Are you guys ready for questions? Oh, many hands, many hands, many hands. I'm going to cut. Also, JT, sorry, I didn't mean to, if you wanted to weigh in on this last little bit. No, okay. All right, he's gold. I'm seeing golden. I'm like, no hand gestures. All right. I saw yours first, and we'll come over here next.
Hi, Nancy Wallace, Maryland, running against Jamie Raskin. Woo! A lot of the liberals, neoliberals, et cetera, in my very wealthy western portion of the district won't touch me. That's fine. The Eastern District is the real America, the 50% or the 99%. It would help me if you would endorse Green Party candidates, but I'm wondering if that would impinge on your sense of impartiality, or are you willing, if I could go out and say I had your endorsement? So it's a little bit of a question and it's a little bit of a request.
Oh no, don't get it twisted. I am not impartial. If you're looking for a neutral political commentator, I am not your guy. I am unapologetically in support of people who are running against a duopoly, running on an anti-capitalist, anti-imperialist message. You want to uplift the working class while dismantling the police state and taking care of our environment. If you support that, you have the endorsement of RBN, period. And I would love to speak to you guys. I may talk to you a little bit more after this.
I have to say, I do feel a little differently. I need to be in a position to be able to say critical things about the person that I'm talking about. You know, I respect people have different approaches to this, but I think my feelings about the Green Party in general have been pretty clear, and my frustration with the establishment. But even as I listen to you talk, I'm very conscious of the fact that many people, including in my audience, are slower to be where I am with respect to Mamdani, with respect to the Democratic Party. And as much as I am characterized as some, accelerationist, firebrand, insane person, I try to be pretty measured and give the benefit of the doubt where it's legitimate, so that I am not written off prematurely by people I'm trying to persuade. And it's a delicate balance, and I'm not saying I always strike it right. But I do also, I think I have had Shama on. I think my mother just did like a data regression on my episodes and told me that Shama I've had on more than anybody else. So I think like my sort of interests are clear. But I also want to be able to say if I think there's a problem with Shama's campaign, or she played something poorly, or her rhetoric was not what I would like it to be. I want to feel comfortable saying that without feeling like I'm betraying someone that I've endorsed or somehow misled the public in some way. Do you know what I mean? But again, may many flowers bloom. We all play different roles in this space. Yeah.
Yeah, because I said before, Bree plays a very important role for our movement. I was laughing about the episode you had with that DSA guy who had a complete meltdown. Because how dare Bree ask him some tough questions, right? So the reason why we get... She could not have been nicer, could not have held this man's hand anymore, but she exposed his character. She exposed how he didn't have any coherent ideology, and that could be faced with any scrutiny. And the reason why we get those gems, because Bree has the role that she plays. Like, she's the professional, she's the easy to approach person who will invite you on her show, but then she will dismantle you intellectually, and it gives us So that person probably wouldn't want to come on my show. We all have a role to play in this movement. I live in Missouri, fam. You guys know I have great success talking to extremely religious people. There are a ton of MAGA people I relate to. You guys know who I struggle with? The person I struggle with the most. Rich white liberals. They will slam the door in my face. So we need a Briahna Joy Gray. We need someone like me talking to me.
Do you know how I think it's Chuck Schumer has this like imaginary couple he's been talking about since the 80s that's like his kitchen table issues. I forget the name of this couple. I have a version of that, which is like an ex's parents. In my head, I'm always thinking, well, what would they think about this? Like the Atlantic reading, highly hyper educated, like thinks they know everything. Alex Katsanis, who wrote the book Propaganda, who's a really fantastic criminal justice advocate and public defender and stuff. He has a line in his book about how the person most susceptible to propaganda is this hyper-educated liberal because they have such a confidence in their own intellect and how much knowledge they have. And so, yeah, that is the person that I'm thinking of always and with a lot of frustration.
I would say, you are running to be a politician. So if I give you my endorsement, I'm going to keep my eyes on you and I'm going to keep my hands on your ankles because I'm going to be able to pull your feet back down to the fire anytime I please. So, hey, I'm going to give you my endorsement, but, don't mess up.
JT, how do you feel about it as someone who's doing more kind of traditional journalism?
Yeah, I definitely would not endorse. In fact, a little bit behind the scenes here, when the Green Party asked me to do this panel, I said, okay, but just know that I can't come out and like say that I support the Green Party or something. I believe very strongly that journalists should be very open and honest about their own biases, about like the policy solutions that they personally find as the ones that they would personally endorse without going so far as to endorse a candidate. I'll leave that to my audience to figure out, who I would vote for in any given situation. And I don't think it takes like this audience, like, I don't think you guys need like any sort of like genius level IQ to figure out, I'm here, doing a panel with the Green Party to figure out my own political leanings. But like the idea of like, I do need to be able to go and, and put tough questions to people in much the same way that you said, Bree. So I think that I won't speak more than that, just because I think you've already said it better than I could on that front. But just so long as it's my personal issue with how corporate press runs. I used to work in corporate press. A big reason I got out was because they tried to claim that they were, this non-biased reporting, when in reality, they had biases. It was just for a more corporatized status quo than for anything revolutionary or transformative. And because of that, it feels unbiased, just because that's what we've been trained to think of unbiased as being. But there is no such thing as unbiased. You should wear your political solutions on your sleeve. So if you're looking for like what policies I endorse, it's like, yeah, healthcare for more people, opposing the police state, those sorts of things. But I'll leave it to my audience then to determine for themselves who to vote for.
Totally. Well said. Yeah, there was some people. Oh, there you go.
Hello, I am Biddy. I'm a new Illinois Green. And first, I just want to thank you all so much for coming out here, for JT for zooming in. And I do have two questions, a short one to JT about the NDAs and how you get consent for people to be on camera. But I also have a question that I want to pose to all the lovely Greens that are both here and online. I'm learning today that there are up to 100 chapters around the world of Greens. And as Scott was saying, the Green live stream is a media platform. And as they're saying, it isn't something that needs a lot of glitz and glamour. JT was saying we don't need expensive equipment. And I'm asking the group, if I'm yesterday mentioning how we need to get outside of our spheres of influence and talk to people on the ground, is anyone feeling like, just ask yourself, are you comfortable asking people when you hear about something happening in your town, hey, do you want to speak about this on camera, or do you want to give me more info? Hand out your email to somebody, let them know if there's an issue in your area, bring it to me. I'm a green. I can put it online, get the word out to the rest of the world, because we have people all around the world who can elevate issues from the grassroots, the green grassroots, local level. I'm wondering if that's something we all feel like we can take upon ourselves. If you want to get on camera, maybe send a clip to Scott and say, hey, feature this on the Sunday night show, or we can make it a daily thing if we get that many people engaged. I just want to know if people think they can, even on the smallest level, contribute to elevating the voices of the people, because we are a people-powered party. Thank you.
So I suppose I'll field that. I'll field
Sorry,
the.
JJ, I think we're going to take two in quick succession. Oh, do you want to go ahead and let him answer that? Or were you doing the thing we were taking a couple at once?
Oh.
Okay, yeah, let's do a couple at once. Oh, okay.
And we have
Hi, everyone.
Siemens on stack, or Kimon Freeman on stack.
Cool beans. I'm Chibu with Illinois Green Party. So I was wondering, since you've already brought up breaking points, like I'm a premium subscriber and we do Ask Me Anythings like every week with them. And several people, now not just me, have brought up that we've wanted to see you, in particular, Briahna Joy Gray, along with several other people. And so I've been curious why they haven't done that. And I was just wondering, like, if you might be able to share a little bit more of why, or is there something that I can do as someone who does pay $90 a year to like have their access? Like, why, what's up, and how can I support that?
JT, do you want to go first?
I am happy to give you the chance to think that one over, Briahna. So I'll just to get like, how do I get people's permission to go on camera? I walk everywhere with a big press badge around my neck, so people know that I am media. I'm carrying around usually like a decent sized camera with a decent sized microphone, and I'm very upfront with people to say, when I introduce myself, I say, hey, I'm a video journalist for Status Coup News, online independent progressive outlet. Could I interview you? Just always being upfront with what I am there to do, why I am there to talk to them. I'm never doing that ambush style or that fake journalism that you see from a lot of the right wing chuds like Nick Shirley and his ilk. So so long as you're being open and upfront, then I think it's pretty straightforward to get people's permission. Or a lot of times I get told no, and then I just say thank you for your time and I walk away.
I saw that clip. Sabi, I think, had clipped it or was circulating it, where during the Ask Me Anything, folks were asking why they hadn't had Shama on. Shout out to everyone who asked enough to get them to have her on Monday. So I'm really looking forward to that interview. And I did observe that the part of the question was also, and why don't you have Briahna and others who have a different approach to politics on the show? And Ryan responded to the Shama point in a now infamous way. But no one kind of addressed the me point. I don't know what that's about. I'll say this. I've known Ryan for a very long time. He was the one that hired me from my law firm to The Intercept and got me in this business in the first place. I considered him to be a mentor for many years, and I learned a lot from him. I think he is an important journalist, and Breakthrough News and Drop Site News do important reporting, which Ryan is a part of. I have also been very frustrated since Force the Vote, basically, about his approach to politics. It hasn't just been that moment. And it has been some of the ways that he has chosen to litigate our disagreements online that have also been frustrating to me on a personal level. I don't really know what that's about. And after Force the Vote, I had him on the show, we talked it through, and he made, I think, what were some important concessions about the strategic flaw of the squad's approach. And I thought that we were sort of resolved and past that. And then there was the moment with the railroad workers strike where Shama very famously said, what the actual fuck is going on? That's a direct quote. That's not me having a potty mouth. And you know, and now there was this stuff about Graham Plattner, and there was this weird episode where he was fighting with that 18-year-old on my podcast. I mean, there's like been a bunch of these little these little dust ups, and I'm not really sure what that's about. And here's what I will say. I do think all of these little fights are made better when we are in the same room talking to each other. And so what I feel like is more frustrating is not the disagreement, but the inability to resolve it, because there is a certain amount of what feels from my perspective like gatekeeping. Like, I don't have to resolve it because I have this platform that I don't have to let you on. And I feel like I can shut you out and freeze you out and never have to address the complaints, even when they're coming from my own audience. And so I do think it's important that people who are part of the Breaking Points community, made their voices known, because but for that, I don't know that there would have been a reversal on the decision to have Shama on. Or maybe that's wrong. Maybe Crystal was always open to it and it was only just a Ryan thing. Maybe Sagar was always open to it, but it was always just a Ryan thing. I don't know. And I can't know as long as they aren't talking to me about it. In also Ryan's defense, I will say I have not reached out since this latest Shama dust up. My feeling was that I'm not trying to rock the boat before her actual interview on Monday. But I do think it's incumbent on me to try, because I do value those relationships. And I do think that left media is so small and sort of balkanized already. And I don't want to contribute to that, even if I do sometimes have human feelings that I'm negotiating.
Just quickly, once again, I'm not trying to discount the work in journalism that Ryan Grimm has done, but you guys realize he wrote a book, and that book name was AOC and a Hope for a Political Revolution. Look it up. That's a real book that he wrote about how AOC is going to bring to the working class. So these people will always, and I mentioned this on our panel last night. This is embarrassing. There's an active, and once again, I expect Bree to be nice about this because she had to maintain the relationship. We need her to be able to socialize with these people. I'm not gonna be able to socialize. Like, it's not gonna happen. I'm not gonna be platform. Yeah, I'm just saying. There's a class whose their number one job, especially after the genocide in Gaza, is to keep the anti-Zionist movement within the Democratic Party. And anyone who is critical of the squad, anyone who's critical of progressive politicians, they will cut you out. So what does that say about them? I'm not going to beg for their attention. They value worshiping and protecting a politician more than they do establishing relations with the working class. To me, that says everything about them.
Yeah, and I will say, I think I mentioned this yesterday. I apologize, but I was just so gobsmacked by this. How even Jeremy Scahill kind of had to push back against Ryan after that Ro Khanna incident, where even Ryan was like, well, I think Ro actually agrees with us in his heart of hearts. And Jeremy was like, he literally said, using these words, it is not our job to fluff up the politicians. And so it doesn't even require, I don't know. I do think that for me personally, a line has been crossed where I agree with you, Nick. I have felt I've been obviously more outspoken the last couple of weeks about my frustrations with Ryan, because what might have been ambiguous before, and if I call it out too early, then I seem like I'm the bad faith actor. You know, that's the dance we're always doing. If you said fraud squad too early, then you were mean and you were unfair and you were bad faith. Okay, well, the name of my podcast is supposed to be ironic, because I'm not supposed to be actually in bad faith. So I'm always looking for the tipping point where I feel like it's, appropriate for me to say, this has crossed over from you looking like you have bad judgment to you're actively, intentionally running cover for something that is not advancing the interest of Palestine, the left, whatever it is. And I personally have gotten to that point in the last couple of weeks, in large part because of the Shama debacle.
So I have one right here, and then we're going to go to Freeman in the chat. So one here first.
Hello, my name is Moade from New York State. And my question is actually very similar to Biddy's. Actually, she might have answered some of the parts of the question that I had, because my question is about independent citizen journalism. As everybody probably knows, the videographer who filmed the murder of George Floyd was a 17-year-old girl child. So these are critical events that happen that are filmed oftentimes just like coincidentally by just whoever's nearby. And really, my question is, how can the Green Party reach out to make itself an available platform so that we can actually have a more centralized and yet decentralized in its very nature network of people who are citizen journalists, so that we can platform a decentralized network, is what I'm trying to say. And that's pretty much exactly what Biddy was kind of saying. So I guess really more about that process. I would like to also know the answer to that question. Thank you.
What I would start with is creating an operation, creating a class of people within this group of Green Party, who wants to do this. Because one thing, people always come to me, they be like, I want to join the CARE Party. What can I do? I'm like, well, nigga, what can you do? Because if I tell you to go build something, you're like, I don't know how to work a tool. I'm like, what the fuck? So if there's people in the Green Party who wants to do these things, who wants to, be a part of the media and push more things for the working class and more reporting on the ground, you have to have a people in their hearts of hearts that wants to do these things. Because if you put a person if you put a person in charge of these operations who really should be, building or doing something in healthcare, it's not going to last. It's not going to last, and it's not coming from the heart. You got to have people out there that wants this to work. And once you get your organization going, everything, all your ducks in line, it's gonna fall in place. Everything is gonna fall in place. RBN will be here. Bree will be here. Sabby will be here. I can't speak for Sabby, but I'm pretty sure she is not shy of Green Party candidates. So, you got your backup. You got your backup. Just get your organizations ready. And whenever y'all got y'all list of people that y'all want to get interviewed, you got to have them PR trained and whatever it may be, what policies that they are running on, and then we can go from there. If that makes sense.
So yeah, I want to kind of address both questions. And first of all, I want to say to Bridget's question about people who might have video, yes, please. My email is scott.free@ilgp.org, and we'd love to put those on Green Live Stream. But then I think also we've talked about these things, but we really need to work on the infrastructure. So Kalia, Green Live Stream, and Zeke, we do need to work more on trying to get something that involves everyone in terms of media. And then to the second part of Bridget's question, we talk about this all the time on the show. I think it's super important that we build a social media structure without a doubt. Changing minds, in person. That's just the reality. And so, I'm in the music community of Chicago, and it's about the conversations, kind of long conversations, kind of over time conversations. I think I'm getting folks in the music community of Chicago to come towards the Green Party, right? Because that's what it's about. It's the personal connection. They know me, they trust me. And so that's what kind of is involved in that. But you're right. I mean, it's a process. So yeah, I think that's, the other one thing I wanted to say is, so in Illinois, we have one of the most brutal ballot accesses that there is in the country. And so we were out there trying to get our candidates on the ballot. We had 3 months. And so all of us, Edie and Alexandria and myself, we're all out in the streets and we are meeting people. And we took the class on how to do it real quick, get that signature, move on to the next person. No, we didn't do that at all. We actually just talked to people and it was fantastic. It was absolutely fantastic. And that was the process. That was part of the process. So I'm ready for more petitioning because it was really, really great to get out and talk to people. And they really appreciate it. Oh my gosh, they appreciate being able to talk about the issues. So yes, to win people over in person, yeah.
Freeman in the chat, and then Medea.
Yeah, peace, family. I have a specific question for Ms. Joy, and then a general question I'd like to pose to the entire panel, and I will appreciate a response from each one of them. For Ms. Joy, you had a recent interview with a young man that had the audacity to walk out on you, and you just simply posed a question about the relationship with the DSA and third party. Now, coming from DC, the last time we was able to defeat a Democratic primary winner was Hilda Mason, and she was a member of the DC Statehood Green Party here, and also a member of the DSA, a leading member of the DSA at the time. In fact, she was credited with being instrumental in the election of Bernie Sanders initially, to give you idea of how far back we're talking about. But I wanted to know, can you expand on the question about the relationship or the lack thereof with the DSA with third party? Because he did walk out, so I just wanted you to expand on that. And then the general question for the panel is, what is your position on tax resistance? Here in DC, for those who don't know, we have taxation without representation. The late Johnny Cochran said that we have a legal presence to have resistance, tax resistance in the nation's capital, and he was looking forward to representing a case for that. But in general, the war tax resistance should be an issue to rein in a rogue authoritarian government that we see right now, especially when someone's saying that they're not going to leave the White House in the next election or run for a third election or what have you. So your position on war tax resistance, and Ms. Bree, if she can respond to DSA lack of their relationship with third party. And holler at your boy. I'm trying to get on your show at some point in time in the future.
100%. I love a fellow DC Green. I can't speak for Dan Denver, and I would have really liked to have him speak for himself. That's why I invited him on the show in good faith, because I am trying also to understand what the DSA line is officially on the relationship with third parties. I also, in the wake of that interview, reached out to Bhaskar Sankara, who just did an interview with, what's his name? Ezra Klein. He said he's busy. His wife is very pregnant. I'll take him at his word. I hope to have him on later. But I'm constantly struggling to get someone who is like authoritative in some way to represent what the DSA's perspective is, so I don't misrepresent it. I'm not trying to mischaracterize anybody. And I know there are many people who are in the DSA who feel differently from DSA leadership and who work for green campaigns and who feel a lot of solidarity, and who maybe, you know, there are races where there's a DSA person who maybe doesn't make it through the primary and there's a green person on the ballot. And I think in an ideal world, there would be an identity of interest between these campaigns, and people could roll over and say, okay, we didn't win in the primary. Let's focus our interest on having our efforts rather on having our interests represented in the general through the Greens. You can imagine all types of solidarity coming through. I was very frustrated with the DSA's choice to endorse Tom Steyer in California when there was a Green Party. Like all of this stuff, I can sit here sort of steaming in my, one-bedroom apartment about it, but I would like the DSAers to actually just say what they believe, and then they can be on the record, and then the membership can disagree, and they can either change policy or have people flee the DSA and maybe come over to the Greens. But they are benefiting, I think, from strategic ambiguity on this particular issue. So yes, I agree. I think it's very unclear, and I think the emotional response. Look, the first 10 minutes of that podcast I spent fluffing up Dan Denver, and I meant it. Like, I think The Dig is an important podcast. I've learned a lot from The Dig over the years. I listen to it on my long runs. They're very long runs because they're very long episodes. Like, I had him on because I really wanted to know what he thinks. And my approach to all of these interviews is I'm open to being wrong about, I'm fully open to being wrong about some of the stuff. But the fact that they repeatedly refuse to defend their own positions leads me increasingly to believe that I'm not wrong. And I was genuinely surprised by how that went, because I genuinely appreciate and admire Dan Denver. And I offered him an opportunity, by the way, to come back on and finish the conversation. And no one ever had to know that happened if he would continue with the line of questioning. And he said, I'll come back, but I won't continue with the line of questioning. You have to change the topic. And I said, well, this is the topic I told you come on to discuss. This was not a bait and switch. Look at our DM history. These are exactly the subjects that I said I wanted to cover. So I guess this is what it is. Like, I'm not trying at any point to make anybody look bad or come off badly. I'm not trying to ruin Dan Denver's reputation. And to Dan Denver's defense, he stayed off the internet and hasn't said anything about it, unlike Ryan Grant. So yeah, I don't know, and I'm hopeful that I can have someone from the organization come to talk about it. And also, as I say on Monday's episode, that will be obviously coming out on Monday, where I interview a really fantastic UK Green. We were talking about this a little bit, and I told him that I think I am going to get over some of my frustration with the DSA in DC DSA and join again, because I feel like that's the only way I'll have access to some of these opinions, especially if they won't come on the show.
You want to know what was an extremely revealing moment for the character of the DSA? Do you guys know who Adam Smith is? He's the guy who called all of us fascist because we protested our government for slaughtering kids and committing a genocide. So imagine how childish your organization has to be to call itself an anti-Zionist organization, but you are willing to allow Adam Smith to win because Shama Sawant said mean things about AOC. That's how serious the organization is. And another goal that I had at RBN is to create a more intellectual, more strategic anti-war movement. The DSA is an incoherent anti-imperialist movement. Something that I cover on my show, which many people don't talk about, is how in order to get an endorsement and the support of DSA organizations, you have to support the NATO proxy war against Ukraine. You know, the same proxy war that is destroying the environment, which led to the Nord Stream pipeline bombing, as I covered, which led to 450,000 metric tons of carbon emissions being leaked in our atmosphere. How can you call yourself an environmentalist if you support war? NATO, and it's important for the Green Party to keep this at heart, that the Green Party must remain an anti-NATO coalition. NATO, the DSA is pro-NATO. The listed. They make up a lot of excuses because I am critical of the NATO war machine. You guys realize that they are implementing mass austerity in Europe now, because in Germany they are cutting pensions, healthcare, and many other benefits in order to fund the military, because Friedrich Merz and a bunch of European neocons, they took Donald Trump as a blessing because Donald Trump wanted them to spend more on the military. So we are witnessing a mass militarization of the West, where Japan is remilitarizing, Germany is remilitarizing. You're seeing the working class in Europe pay directly because of this war. They had zero criticisms of this. Zero criticisms of the working class in Europe being hollowed out by the NATO war machine. So that's something that I always have to implore, and that's why I was strong in support of Joe Stein, who wasn't afraid to mention this and the criticism of NATO. You cannot be pro. Absolutely, give it up, Joe Stein. Give it up. Give it up. I keep it brief because you guys know I can talk about these things hours on end. But do we stand with our brothers and sisters in Sudan or not? It's easy to say free Palestine. That's popular now. Are you going to say free Sudan? Are you going to oppose the neocon monsters who are arming this? That's a genocide of NATO. The UK provides weapons to the UAE. Those same weapons were tracked to be used by the RSF and murdered mass Sudanese people. So you do not stand with Sudan if you support NATO.
I just want to comment about tax resistance. I'm certainly for all types of resistance. I am a revolutionary. I have no idea how that might happen. It might be in the form of a collapse, but something's going to happen. And my experience on Green Live Stream for interviewing people in the Green Party for like, a year and a half is that we're in the right place because we have the right people. And again, I have no idea what's going to happen with this. I can see it with all our catastrophes simultaneously happening. But I know that I'm in the right space because of the quality of people in the Green Party. I'm really, really hopeful about our chances to survive whatever happens. And I think that's the important thing about the Green Party. Yes, we run candidates, but I think the really important thing about it is that we've got the right people and we are working to have better understandings, like all of this things that Nick was just talking about. A lot of people are still not aware. They don't know all the details. Well, this is the place to find out. This is the place to learn and grow. And we're in the right place, folks.
Oh, sorry.
Anybody else want to talk on taxes or no?
Yeah, I'd love to chime in just to bring a little bit of like personal experience here from when I was reporting on the ground in Minneapolis. We were there during the Trump administration's immigration crackdown there for 2 months. And I think the narrative that's commonly advanced about what happened in Minneapolis is very lazy, where it is that the Trump administration killed Renee Good, and then it doubled down, sent more agents, killed Alex Preddy, and then backed off. But I think that really minimizes the fact that the day before Alex Preddy had been killed, there was a general strike of sorts in Minneapolis. That economic pressure exacted a much heavier toll than I think it was ever given credit for, because it was very quickly swamped in the news by what happened with Alex Preddy's death. But coming out of that day of the general strike, there was a bunch of corporations based in Minnesota, like big ones, Best Buy, Target, 3M, that all signed a joint letter. It was a pretty chicken shit letter to my eyes, but they did send a letter to the Trump administration demanding some kind of change to conditions on the ground. So it was the corporate overlords were really, putting their thumb on the scale with the Trump administration and enacting that economic pressure had really won out there. But there was an insane amount of organizing that went behind that to even achieve that one day of a general strike. So the idea of doing anything with taxes or any form of resistance, I mean, and I always feel like this is like the cop-out answer for anything on the left, but who's going to organize it, and what is all the work that needs to be done there? Identify for me some leaders, give me an actual movement that I can go and lift up on a program like ours, and I am happy to cover it and to play that role of the media and amplifying a message. But first, you got to get it to that point.
The War Resisters League has a long time program on how to be a tax resistor, and there's obviously going to be small.
Could you repeat the question?
Oh, sorry.
Sorry, Gloria Matera, Green Party of New York. The War Resisters League, who has many chapters, has been doing program on keep resisting your taxes, federal taxes, for a long time. I'm sure the percentage of people who are doing it are small, but they have a way to do it, and they have been doing it. It might be of interest to any one of you to talk to somebody about that. There are several War Resistor League tax resistors who live in Brooklyn, where I live, who've been doing this for a while. So I'm happy to connect you if it's something of interest, just to put out to your audiences.
Thank you. Medea?
I wonder if you could say what the platforms like Rumble, Patreon, and YouTube, all of these, what do you find is the most useful to you in your outreach, which are less censored, and which provide you greater income?
Yeah, I was banned on multiple of those platforms a few times. I'm still surprised that our YouTube channel is still up. It's a miracle of God. But to answer your question, I also do work for Hotspot for about 2 years now. My brother Nico House and my great friend David Houdain, he's an amazing Pan-African reporter. We cover geopolitics in these short bursts, 2 minutes. I have my long streams where I have like Jill Steinbree, Ron. We have a conversation for the last like hour or two. Not everyone has that kind of attention span, so I hit a lot of these high on a lot of these issues I'm talking about, like Sudan, UAE, Israel, like a lot of things that the working class didn't know. I put those in like short videos, and that helped us reach the younger generation. So whatever like format best suits you. Like there's some people who enjoy longer form content. There's some people who are better at doing short form content. I'm flexible, I mean, I'm in the lab cooking. I can do both, but whatever method that you can use to reach the working class, that's what should be used. Rumble, I'm not a fan of, because Rumble, they provide contracts to people, and those people they provide contracts to, they push on the algorithm, and they actually punish left-wing content creators. Like we've been massively suppressed on Rumble. I've been banned on Twitch multiple times, so I don't know how Hassan Piker get away with it. But I've been banned every time I start a Twitch channel. We get banned. So it's really hard to have the politics that we do while also trying to keep our message contained to what the ruling class wants us to say, but that's the best we can do. I've been banned. We deal with problems on YouTube, all the social media. It's a challenge that we had to deal with.
Yeah, I'd have had over 20 Twitter pages. We went through YouTube pages, Instagrams, Facebook called me a terrorist and kicked me off. So it always depends on what you can do. Like I said earlier, if you want to join, tell us your talents. And, you might have young people who can reach out to younger people. There's young people in this crowd who can captivate an audience on TikTok. There's people who can sit there and do forums on Facebook, because Facebook is like an older, it's more of an older audience there. So it all depends on what you can do with the platforms that you are given. But just beware that you will be taken down. I can't stop that, because nowadays, you say how much money we make, well, they pay us in gum, so I don't know how much money we make. No, we make a little change, but not enough to sit here and like be on a yacht and do all that. Like I drove here, I drove here, so yeah, I obviously not making that much. But it's not about the money, it's about the message, it's about the people. So no matter no matter what platform it is, push the truth, push peace, push juice, push life, and it might sound corny right now, but they're gonna come by. I have family members always. I'm not into politics, and then when she hit they fan, they be like, "Hey, Rome, what's going on?" I'm like, "Oh no, you ain't into politics. I don't want to tell you." But just use whatever form that you have, because it depends on your swagger. It depends on your swagger, because somebody got it. Some people got it all. Your swag, your style. Some people got it all. Like Brittany, I see her on Instagram. I can go on TikTok. She can do it all. She glow. Sabby, Nick, they do it all. But me, no, I'm not. No. If you watch my show, and you are like, I don't know, you are so far left in. Because I don't know how I get away with it. They probably like, he don't make that much money anyway. Leave him alone.
Regarding the question too, regarding Patreon, make sure you guys are careful about Patreon, because Patreon has seized funds before. And don't get me wrong, I appreciate anyone who supports on Patreon, but any way you can support independent media that is not tied to these oligarch platforms is very, very important. And in order to do this kind of work, like I wanted to revive like the working class journalists. The people who are considered journalists are like these Rachel Maddow types who live in ivory towers, who will never be seen among the working class ever a day in their life. Like there was a time where journalists was ordinary working class people. So I told my people, like, man, I just need my lights to be on. Like I don't need for much. I want to take it back to the working class. I don't need a lot of money, but we need to be independent, and that kind of support. Patreon is important, can help us keep us independent. But we gotta be careful with these platforms, because there's only so much they will allow us to get away with. Anyone?
Very quick. Green Live Stream is a political party podcast, so we don't take any money. But we don't monetize. But the nice thing about that is then when you watch it later, there's no commercials. So I'm going to give a plug to that. So that's my time to plug. Please subscribe to Green Live Stream on YouTube. So yeah, at Green Live Stream ILGP. Thanks.
I would say, yeah, even if you don't have time to watch every video, I do think to beat the algorithm, it's very helpful if there's a channel that you like. If you thought, oh, I haven't gotten a prompt from the Katie Hopper show recently, but let me just, I don't have time to watch this video, but let me go over there and like and subscribe. Oh, I haven't heard, RBN's not being suggested to be in my feed, but I'm remembering them sitting here. So let me go over and like and subscribe. That stuff really helps. Leave a comment, all of those sorts of things. So if you're asking because you are thinking of how do we expand? How do we get more people involved? Are people going to do it? I mean, I really appreciate everybody saying, you're not in it to make money, but there are people who want to be able to sustain themselves while they put the time, energy, effort, and research into making a good product. And I think people should be paid for their labor as in any other job, and how to make that sustainable in a world where even mainstream media is flailing is a really difficult question. I'm very lucky to have an amazing base of Patreon support because I am a public figure. Do you know what I mean? Rolling off of the Bernie campaign, plus starting a podcast with someone who was on the most popular podcast on Patreon at the time, made it so that we had like a good foundation that has, not remained the same, but has sustained and can sustain me, so that when something happens, like being fired from Rising, I'm not trying to like keep my job by muzzling myself. I had the freedom to know that it was coming and to say what I wanted to say anyway. And so I don't want to be flippant about the importance of money in that situation, because what, would it have affected my behavior? Would I have had to go back and work at some law firm if I didn't have the basic Patreon support? But that is obviously not like generalizable, right? Because that's something that is easier to do when you have people who already know your name and are willing to pay. Me personally, I don't think I've ever really paid for a Patreon until probably the last 5 years of my life, even though I was a heavy podcast consumer for years. So converting people into that, it's very difficult. And I don't know that it's sustainable, which is how you get to the YouTube stuff. Me personally, I don't make money on YouTube. Because to me, it's like the algorithm is so overwhelming. One day, all your videos are getting 70,000 views. The next day, you're struggling to break 10. You feel compelled to make these ridiculous, I leave it to my producer, God bless him, but these ridiculous titles, and it just feels like diminishing to your personhood. And I just hate that game. And Patreon, I have the privilege of being able to say, like, I don't really care if this YouTube video does well. I post videos on YouTube because I think it's a much bigger audience than podcast, and it's much more shareable. And because I can clip it for Twitter, which for me personally is my number one way to reach people. It's my biggest account. You can pry Twitter from my cold dead hands. Elon Musk can do whatever he wants to do. I'm going to have to get kicked off Twitter. I'm never leaving. That's my home.
We have a firm 10 minutes. So I have 1, 2, 3, and then I'm closing the stack. 5 minutes? Okay, I'm the bad guy. So 2, and then I'm closing the stack.
Hi, I'm Barbara from the Milwaukee Greens. Mine's more of a practical question and maybe one of confidence. We have a lot of really great writers, a lot of artists, a lot of people who have great things to say, but maybe they don't want their kids on camera. Maybe they don't want their faces on camera. They're worried about the blowback to their families, like somebody coming and like going to their house and stuff like that, and don't really want the fame. Can you give people some tips to be more confident to be the media, and really join that call? Because we have, like, every state party, every local party has its own media, but it's all in our spare time on volunteer hours. And, it's all for free too. So if you have any tips and really confidence building for Greens who are interested in being the media, thank you.
Question. Last question.
My name is Jim Cushland. I'm from the Ohio Greens. I'll try to keep it as quick as I can because I know we're running out of time and everything. I've personally been inundated with all sorts of things from previous workshops of how I can help out and rejuvenate not just my state's party, but in general. And a lot of what your guys are saying right now, and maybe I'll come find some of you like after this and later on the evening, because maybe I should just go ahead and try to build something of my own on one of these types of media things. I mean, after all, I did run a sports radio station for like a decade, and I've been on air, and yes, thank you for that one. So I guess I'll try to throw my hat in the ring, but I am not a tech savvy person and things of that nature. So I'll come find some of you later through the evening for some pointers.
Yeah, thank y'all. To the first question, everybody don't have to be the face of the movement. There's a lot of people in the background of RBN, a lot of people in the background of Tour for the Poor, and a lot of people who actually does work for Tour for the Poor, and they are disabled. A lot of them are poor. They can't move around as much as a regular person can, and it's sad. Not regular, but you know what I mean. But yeah, it is sad, but everybody has a role in the revolution. I honestly feel that everybody has a place and everybody has a role in the revolution. So no matter if you are just, like Nick likes to say, bake pies, you know what I'm saying? You know how to bake pies, but do what you can, because we only have so much time. We have so little time to ourselves, you know what I'm saying? Be damn the whole organization, but if all of us do a little bit, it's gonna become a lot, because our little bit is gonna flood. It's gonna flood, and they're gonna see us. They're gonna feel us. Whether you the head of it or whether you in the background, you know that you were a part of this movement. You know in your hearts of heart that you was the one who pushed your best to actually make this work.
I'm gonna add a little bit to her question regarding like advice to people who are who want to get into this, who may struggle a bit. I don't know, like most of you guys, I don't know exactly when you discovered me. But when I first started, Rome though, like when we first started doing our streams and when we had only like a few people watching, I was nervous as hell, boy. Like I was not the guy that you guys know now. Like if you was an old school OG follower, you guys remember my old Twitch streams? Well, my name is Nick, and I support Medicare for all. I think we should take. I was a wreck when I first started. It's like working out. It's a muscle that you learn. It's you train, you get better. And most public speakers will tell you the same thing, that it's hard at first. And I was lucky to only have a few people watch me. Then I grew my audience. Then I got better. It's like a muscle. You learn the muscle just like public speaking. It's something that you work on. So if you want to get in front of the camera, you kind of struggle with anxiety. I struggle a lot with that. I grew up with a speech impediment. I overcome a lot of anxiety to do what I do. It takes a little bit of grit, and you got to understand by flexing your muscle, by getting yourself out there and talking to people, talking in front of a camera, you will naturally get better. Regarding tech issues, bro, you understand the tech hell that I used to go through during the days, like my stream, I had bad internet back then. I'm on streams just cut out randomly. I used to go live and I'm like, guys, I might do a 2 hours or I might cut out in like 30 minutes, depending on my internet is. People down for the movement, they will understand that. And as you continue to work, you continue to grow, you get better. I'm still learning a lot. I'm still getting better at my presentation, trying to become a better educator and communicator. It's part of the process. Like as a martial artist, I treat it as a martial art. Like I make a mistake, I learn from that mistake, get better. You got to treat it like a sport. And I found it very enjoyable, like every step of the way. Like I watch my streams extremely critically. I'm like, damn, I should have said that. You get better, and that's the same with being an activist. Like when you talk to people, you get better at it. It's a muscle that you continually work. So just keep your head up. If you struggle, if you got anxiety, just put. I know it's hard, but put yourself out there. The more you work, you gotta have faith in the process. You will get better. You will become more smooth in communicating your ideas. Because trust me, I was not this smooth when I first started out.
Yeah, really quick, I just want to plug what's happening next because I'm part of it. Lee Camp and Roger Waters are going to be at the fundraiser, which is going to start really soon. And then after that, there's an after party, and I have a trio here, and we're going to be playing folk punk political music, and we've got line dancing after. So I want to get those plugs in because I know things are going to get rushed.
All right. Thanks, everyone. Much appreciated.
Thank you. Yeah, JT, any final words?
No.
Well, I'll say this. Thank you for all your reporting and coverage at Delaney Hall. My comrades in New Jersey were there and appreciate you and all the work. And don't forget, we got the Green Party hats because of Bree. Quick story, 2024 presidential lead up. We're on Bree's show. And basically she's like, we need more merch. And
I
this
made
was
my own hats because I couldn't find any in the Green Party store.
Exactly. But now, thanks to Bree, we have hats, $30. Order your hats.
So everyone, in terms of what's happening now, Scott gave you the rundown for the entertainment. Lee Camp will be coming up at 5. So we did say that the fundraiser parts of the evening are for everyone. If you wanted to have some snacks and dinner a little bit later, you have to see somebody in the back, Tama, for tickets. There are some like appetizer things out there that's part of the dinner, but we don't want anybody to feel like they're not getting anything to eat because it's pretty fast moving. But we just want to let you know about that. And the other thing is there's a bar cashless bar, but I don't know what the prices are for wine and beer. So it's kind of like happy hour. They're there. Yeah.
Mahalo, Gloria. Mahalo. Thank you, everyone. Aloha.
Take it, but you know, it's food's out.